Welcome back to Today in Baseball. It is July 20th, 2021. There was a lot of baseball yesterday. There's a lot of baseball today. Important series coming up, important series going on. Um, Division races, wild card races, lots of baseball, lots of fun. Um, let's get right into it. So, the Padres and the Braves were postponed yesterday. Um, they should have a. They do not have a doubleheader today. I'm not sure when that game is set to be made up. It looks like it's going to be made up on Wednesday rather than today. Um, so that game was postponed because of rain. Um, then we have a doubleheader, Twins and White Sox. Um, Twins won the first game 3-2. Game one, Tim Anderson started it out solo homer, made it 1-0, but then Nelson Cruz came back in the sixth and hit a solo homer, made it 1-1. Then he hit a sac fly in the eighth, and it was 2-1. And then Polanco hit an RBI single that would bring in the eventual winning run, and it made it 3-1. Abreu did hit a ground rule double in the bottom of the eighth, but it wasn't enough, and the White Sox lost game one to the Twins. Um, Lance Lynn went 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, and 4 strikeouts for the White Sox. So in the eighth, the bullpen came in, couldn't get it done. Garrett Crochet was credited with the loss in this game. And then Griffin Jacks for the Twins had 4 innings pitched with 1 earned run, but he exited early because of a blister. So he was looking good, but he had to exit early because of that blister. Tyler Duffy got the win. Robles got the save in this game. The Twins, they're pretty much out of it. White Sox, would have been nice for them to win this one, but they could not get it done. And then in game two, the White Sox did win 5-3 in a nice way. Donaldson hit a sac fly in the first, made it 1-0. Then Abreu homered, and it was tied. Then Mitch Garver homered in the second and in the fifth. In his first game back from the IL, he homered twice in back-to-back at bats. So it was 3-1 at that point. Then Moncada with a homer in the sixth made it 3-2. And then in the bottom of the seventh, Gavin Sheets hit a walk-off 3-run homer, and the White Sox won it 5-3. Jose Barrios pitched all 6 innings for the Twins. He came out in the seventh. He did not get an out, and then he gave up the walk-off homer. So he got the loss this game. He's 7-4 on the year. And White Sox, Twins, they're both AL Central teams. Obviously, the White Sox are in first by 8.5 games over Cleveland, so that they're running away with the division. They're going to win that division no matter what. The Twins are out of the playoffs. They're 14 games below 500. There's nothing they can do there. That's really all there was. Barrios could be traded if they really want to blow up and trade. Barrios could be one of those guys. Same thing with Donaldson. But yeah, it was a doubleheader. It was a split. That's usually what happens in doubleheaders. It just kind of does. And that's that for the Twins and the White Sox. Next up, we got the Marlins and the Nationals. The Nationals picked the Marlins apart, chewed them up, spit them out. They won 18-1. Trey Turner, RBI triple. Soto had 2 homers. Soto was 3-for-4 with 2 homers, 5 RBIs, and a walk. So that on-base percentage is just keep going up, which is what Juan Soto does better than anyone. Trey Turner had a 3-run homer. He had a triple. Jordy Mercer had a 2-run single. John Lester hit a 2-run homer. You know when the pitcher hits a two, if the pitcher hits a 2-run homer off you, it's got to be some sort of out of reach game, because that's the only way John Lester's gonna be hitting a 2-run homer. Um, Miguel Rojas did hit a solo homer, so I don't want to discredit that. That made it 18-1. Took away the shutout. Very important, as always. John Lester went 7 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, and of course he had the homer. So he had a very nice day at the office. He got the win. He's 3-4 on the year. The Nationals, I still do think it's some part of them thinks that they can make a run for the division. Obviously Schwarber's out, so it's gonna be a little tough, but they could definitely go for wild card. Depending on how the season goes. They looked nice in this game, but then again, it was the Marlins. So we're gonna have to see what they do, and when Schwarber's gonna come back is obviously a big factor in that as well. Marlins Nats, that's that. Then the Red Sox played in Dunedin, Buffalo against the Blue Jays. And they also picked them apart pretty well, a lot. Jarren Duran hit his first career homer, 2-run homer in the first. Then Renfroe hit a grand slam in the first. That made it 6-0 at that point. Then Kike hit a 2-run homer in the first as well. That made it 8-0. Eight earned runs in the first inning. Ross Stripling had 6 earned runs in a third of an inning pitched. He was just starting to look good, and then he did that, so not too great. Anthony Kay had 5 earned runs in 1.1 innings pitched. That was the bulk of the earned runs, so those two kind of lost the game for them, put it way out of reach before they even came out to hit in the first. Devers homered. Danny Santana, his first game off the IL, I believe, 2-run double and a solo homer. Biggio did homer, but yeah, at that point it was 12-3, so still very far out of reach. For the Red Sox, Pivetta had 4 earned runs in 6.2 innings pitched, so not terrible. They were also up by a lot, so it didn't really matter. And this was a tough loss for the Blue Jays. They were just starting to get like some traction. They had won their last 3 games, I believe. They just swept the Rangers. They were 6 games back of Boston. And going into a series against Boston, they were 6 games back of Boston. And then they just get this heartbreaking loss. So now they're 7 games back. They're 3.5 in the wild card. So I do still think the Blue Jays are a good team. Obviously, it just goes to show their pitching needs help. So if they are going to make a trade at the trade deadline, they should definitely go for pitching. Kyle Gibson could be a guy. There's a lot of guys that they could trade for, a lot of starters that are on the market. And I think if they really wanted to, they could. And I think that's where they falter. And doing that would help them greatly. As far as Boston goes, for the Red Sox, they are 4-6 in their last 10. So maybe they're on a little bit of a slide, but if they do what they did against Toronto, if they do that again the next couple games, then they will no longer be on a slide. They'll look pretty good. And if they do that against Toronto a couple more games, Toronto might fall into 4th place, depending on what the Yankees do against the Phillies. And then the Mets were in Cincinnati to play the Reds, and this was a thriller. Went 11 innings. The Mets won 15-11. The Mets hit 7 home runs in this game. Started off with Alonso and McNeil homering in the first. It was 3-0, and then lots of singles and sac flies and a Naquin double made it 4-3 Reds. In the first, and then in the second, Votto and Naquin both had singles, and that made it 7-3 in the second. Then later on, Conforto hit a two-run homer, um, and at that point it was 7-6. Then Dom Smith hit a solo homer to tie it up at 7-7. Then Winker doubled, um, made it 8-7. Um, and then at that point, McCann was brought in by the Mets to pinch hit. And what did he do? Of course, he hits a two-run homer, and put the Mets up 9-8. And then in going into the bottom of the ninth, the Mets were up 9-8. And Edwin Diaz, his third straight blown save, which is the first time in his career he's ever done that. And Winker doubled again and tied it 9-9. Then it was 10-10 going into the 11th inning. So an absolute thriller so far. You're just praying for both teams. Are just praying that they come out with a win. So at least it was 4-something. And then in the 11th, the top of the 11th, McCann singled, Pilar homered, Conforto homered, and it was 15-11 Mets. And then Trevor May came in and closed it out in the bottom of the 11th. He got the save. Tough loss for the Reds. They just got swept by the Brewers. They're really looking for a win. So it's just a little demoralizing for them. They're now 7.5 games back. It looks like the Brewers are going to start running away with this division, which I mean, I guess it does stink for the Reds. They're 6 games back in the wild card. I still think that those NOS teams are going to be in the wild card no matter what. So the Reds need to make the push for the division, but it just doesn't look like the Brewers are going to leave first place with the way their team's going. The pitching and the hitting just clicking. Not much to do about that. They're also playing the Royals this week, so that shouldn't be too much of a challenge for them. The Reds just need to string up some wins against the Mets. That's what they need to do. But it was just an unfortunate game for them. As for the Mets, that's a good win. It's a good win. It's another one. On Sunday, they had a good win. Came back from 6-0, won 7-6. So that's a good two wins for the Mets and for Mets fans. They are currently 2.5 games up on the Phillies, who come to New York to play the Yankees today. So we'll see, depending on what the Mets and the Reds, how that series ends up. Depends on the standings. If the Mets sweep, they'll at least be 2.5 games up on the Phillies, no matter what. And if the Reds sweep, they could gain some ground on the Brewers, depending on what they do against the Royals. And then if the Reds get swept, it'll just be not fun for Reds fans. Just when they thought coming out of the All-Star break they were 4 games behind, it'll just kind of punch them in the face, crash and burn, to like 9 games out, like just like that. Then we got the Indians in Houston against the Astros. The Astros won this one 4-3, so it was close. Gurriel doubled in the first to make it 1-0. Then Franmil Reyes hit a solo homer and tied it up at 1. Martin Maldonado singled 2-1, and then Jordan hit a two-run homer because that's what Jordan does, and it was 4-1. And then in the 8th, the Indians were threatening a little bit, but they not enough. The Astros went on to win it 4-3. Zach Greinke got the win. He pitched 5.1 innings, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk. So a decent line. Not Greinke's best, but they did get the win. They did come out with the win. Presley got the save. And the Astros, they're in first. They're 3.5 games up above Oakland, so I guess it's still in the air. That division could change at any point. And then even the Mariners are only 6.5 games out. But the Astros have been playing some good baseball on offense and defense this year, so we we'll see where that goes. And the A's are second in the wild card. Um, I did I do think that if the A's falter, it would make it a little more entertaining in the wild card race because teams would start to be fighting for that second spot. Right now, the second team is 3 games back, and that'll be the Mariners. Then it's the Blue Jays at 3.5, the Yankees at 4, Cleveland at 4.5, and then the Angels at 6.5, and everything after that's a little bit far. The Indians, I guess they're 4.5 out of the wild card. I don't really see their team doing anything this year. I don't know if they plan on buying or selling. They could get a lot for Jose Ramirez. If they do want to do that, I doubt they do. Shane Bieber should be coming back soon. So they got stuff to look forward to. I just don't see their team doing anything this year. So Astros take that one. Next up, we have the Angels at the Athletics. The Athletics won this one 4-1. Ohtani and Cole Irvin, 6 innings, both 6 innings, no run baseball, 0-0 going into the 6th. They take Ohtani out. They put in Cishek, and Ramon Laureano hits a 3-run homer off Cishek in the 7th. That breaks the 0-0 tie. That makes it 3-0 A's. And then in the 8th, Matt Olson homered. So it was 4-0. And then Brandon Marsh did hit an RBI double in the 9th, which was his first career RBI, but that would be it. The A's won 4-1. Ohtani went 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, no earned runs, and 8 strikeouts. So a good line for Ohtani. He's trying to get that season ERA down, especially with those 7 earned runs against the Yankees a couple weeks ago. And then Cole Irvin went 7 innings pitched, 7 hits, no earned runs, 3 strikeouts. So it was kind of a pitching duel at the beginning. Fun to watch. Ohtani's always fun to watch. And then Ohtani went into left, I believe, when he came out of the game. The Angels keep faltering. They're looking less and less like a playoff chance every day. They were starting to win some games right before the All-Star break, but now they are just kind of faltering. I don't think they're going to do anything this year. They should just kind of take it easy. Not take it easy, but Ohtani's still mashing. But I don't see them pushing. They could out of nowhere, but I just don't see it happening as the way things are going right now. And then as far as the A's go, they're second in the wild card by 3 games. I would like to see them kind of fizzle because it would just make everything more entertaining for everyone. That would be that. Then we have the Cubs and the Cardinals. The Cardinals, it was 0-0. But then the Cardinals got a 5-0 lead in the 4th. A big part of that inning, a Javi Baez throwing error. Went to throw it to home with the bases loaded. Threw it home. Ball got away and scored a couple runs. So it was 5-0 Cardinals at that point. Then Dylan Carlson hit a 2-run homer. Goldschmidt hit a solo homer, both in the 6th inning. And it was 8-1. Wisdom homered for the Cubs. It was 8-2. And then the Cardinals went on to win 8-3. Brandon Woodford got the win. Both of these teams, I don't think that they're going to make the playoffs at all. The Cardinals are 8.5 games out. Cubs are 9.5 games out. The Cubs are selling. They've announced that. It's not a secret to anyone. No secret that the Cubs are selling. And then Cardinals, they're at 500 right now. I think they're just going to let it ride for the rest of the season. I don't know of anyone they can really sell or buy even, because if they buy, that means they would have to give something up. I just don't see them doing that. So this series, while entertaining, I'm sure for the Cardinals fans, this game was, just doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, the way it's looking. Then we have the Orioles and the Rays. The Orioles won this one 6-1. behind Travis Watkins, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, and 7 strikeouts. What a performance! It was a good performance by Travis Watkins, especially against the Rays, who have been a very hot, like one of the hottest teams in baseball in the past, I believe, 10 games, 7-3 in the last 10 games. I think before last night it was 8-2. They're only a game and a half back behind the Red Sox. They would have been half a game if they had won last night, but they did not. Mountcastle doubled. Santander hit a sac fly, 2-0 in the first. Then a couple singles and a ground rule double in the 6th inning made it 6-0. At that point, it was done. The Rays would score once on a Rosarena double in the 6th, and it was 6-1, and that's how the game would end. Ryan Yarbrough for the Rays. Obviously, he's been looking pretty good for the year so far, but he had 6 earned runs in 5 2/3 innings pitched today, so not the greatest. Could have been better. The Rays should be winning these games for they're a much better team than the Orioles. That's no surprise. That's no secret. Half a game is drastically different from 1.5 games, only because now they could have taken over first tonight had they had won last night, and especially because they're playing the Orioles again, they need to capitalize when they're playing the bad teams. So AL East looking, the AL East could very well become a 4-team scramble as we get towards the end of the season. Then the Pirates and the D-backs, two teams irrelevant. Not really, doesn't really matter. I guess if you're looking at the trade pieces, people that could be traded, that's pretty important. Pavin Smith homered. Josh Van Meter homered. Eduardo Escobar hit a 2-run homer in the 5th. He could be a trade piece. Haven't heard much of his names in rumors or anything, but he definitely could be traded. A lot of teams could use him. Brian Hayes and Brian Reynolds hit singles in the 7th. It was 4-2, and that was pretty much the end of that game. It's the Pirates and the Diamondbacks, so there's not much more to really talk about there. The Giants and the Dodgers, this was probably the biggest game last night. Giants were 1 game up on the Dodgers heading into it, so the Dodgers with a win could have put it within. They could have tied for first, and then the rest of the series would have really dictated it. However, the Giants won 7-2. Posey hit a 2-run homer in the first. Wilmer Flores hit a solo homer in the first, 3-0. Then the bottom half of the first, Max Muncy hit a homer. He's been destroying the Giants this year so far. So did Justin Turner. Muncy has 5 straight games against the Giants with a homer, which I believe is one behind Trevor Story, who did it 6 games in a row. So if he does it tonight, you never know. However, Muncy's wife is pregnant with a child and could have Muncy leaving before the series is over, depending on what happens, obviously, with that, which would be a huge blow for the Dodgers, one of the best first basemen in baseball, going away for one of your biggest series against the team that's in front of you in the standings. But at that point, it was 3-2. And then Tyro Estrada and Austin Slater doubled, and it was 7-2 Giants, and that's how it would end. Lamont Wade Jr. was 1-for-1 with 2 walks. I don't know, that was just kind of an interesting line that I saw. The Dodgers, man, they're one of those teams where you feel like at any point they can just go on a 10-game winning streak, take first place by 3 games, and then keep it. But every time they played the Giants, they don't do as good. They haven't beat the Giants that much this year. It doesn't feel like it, at least. They still have 2 more against the Giants. I don't know if they play till Thursday. Let's see if they play on Thursday. They do play on Thursday, so it's a 4-game set. So they still could have the division lead by Thursday. If they win tonight, if they have to win the next 3 games to go up in the division. If they split the series, then it's tied, I believe. No, if they split the series, it is still a 1 game. No. If they split the series, it's tied. Because they win 2, then they would be tied. They lose 1. Scratch all of that. They need to win 3 games to take the division lead. So that should be interesting, especially heading into the last part of the season. The Padres are only 5.5 games back in that division, which is more than doable for the Padres. They play Atlanta this week. The Braves haven't been doing great. The Braves are only 4.5 games back, I believe. So they're also looking into it. So that should be a fun series. Both teams want to win. Both teams think that they have a shot at the division. I think the Padres are going to make the playoffs no matter what. So I do think the Padres might win the series in Atlanta. Then the last game of last night, the Rangers and the Tigers. The Tigers destroyed them. They won 14-0. Akil Baddoo hit a 2-run homer. Miggy hit a bases clearing double. Base hits, and it's just kind of 14 kind of got there. Kind of got to 14. Kyle Gibson gave up 8 earned runs in 5 innings pitched, which is not great considering his name. He's a big name on the trade market for starting pitchers. So you rather see good numbers for him if you're a team looking at him to trade. I don't know if they could use that against the Rangers to maybe give up less in order to get him, but we'll see what happens there. Kyle Gibson could be on a different team before he makes the next start for the Rangers. And that's pretty much it for the games yesterday. Today, all the same series. Couple new ones. Yankees play the Phillies today. The Royals play the Brewers. The San Diego and Atlanta series starts today. It's supposed to start yesterday. The Mariners play the Rockies. Those are the new series that start today. Should be interesting. In the Rays Orioles game today, there will be the first ever all-women broadcast team. It is a YouTube game, so it's free to watch. Heidi Watney, Lauren Gardner will be the co-hosts for the pre-game and post-game shows. Sarah Langs, Melanie Newman, and Alana Rizzo will be in the booth for the broadcast. So it's an exciting day for baseball. All-female broadcast team for that game. Should be good to watch and listen to. Looking forward to that. On the injury front from yesterday, the Blue Jays put Alek Manoah on the IL with a back contusion. The Red Sox put Christian Arroyo on the IL with a hamstring strain, and then brought up Danny Santana, and obviously he had a double and a homer in last night's game. The Royals put Danny Duffy on the IL, which is a little not good because he was one of those pieces that could have been traded come the deadline. A lot of teams could use starting pitching, obviously, and he could have been one of those guys. Now he's injured. I don't know if that'll change that. It could not, because as of right now, it's just a hamstring. It's a left flexor strain. He could be back soon, so I don't know how much that changes. And then they also put Brady Singer on the IL with shoulder fatigue. He hasn't been good this year anyway. The Tigers put Jake Rogers on the IL with arm soreness. The Twins reinstated Mitch Garver, and he hit 2 homers yesterday. So that's pretty exciting for Twins fans, getting their catcher back. The White Sox Eloy Jimenez is in rehab right now. He homered in one of the rehab games. That's exciting for them. And they have Luis Robert starting his rehab on Wednesday. Um, Again, really exciting. I'm at that team. Um, that team is 57. That team is 20 games above 500, 57 and 37. And they've been missing Eloy all season, and they've been missing Luis Robert for a good month, a couple months now. I think a couple months at this point. Um, so getting those two back, that's a scary lineup. That is a very scary lineup. The Mariners put Jake Fraley on the COVID IL. Jazz Chisholm went on the IL for the Marlins. He went to make a diving backwards play in shallow right field. Landed on his shoulder. Goes to the IL. Sad to see. Hope he gets back soon. For the Mets, Carlos Carrasco is returning soon. I believe he started his rehab games. So that's fun for Mets fans. He hasn't been in a Mets uniform yet. So that should be exciting for them. And they get more pitching with DeGrom going on the IL. They would like more pitching. I know he's not a replacement, but he is something. And then the Dodgers put Gavin Lux on the IL with a hamstring injury. That's about it for the injuries. Obviously, the biggest one I think is the White Sox getting back Eloy and Luis Robert. It's pretty important for them. Their team could be scary and deadly, and there's a lot of talk about them getting Joey Gallo. I don't even think they need to at this point with getting Eloy and Luis Robert back. I don't see a point in going and get Gallo or Nelson Cruz or anything like that. As far as the standings go, I think the White Sox are going to win their division by a lot, like not even close. Boston and the Rays are fighting for that division. Toronto and the Yankees are 7.5 games back, but they could make that up decently. That division could become a scramble in the next couple weeks, depending on what happens. I know the Yankees play the Red Sox this weekend, and then they go on to play the Rays. So if they can win a lot of those games, they'll catch up in the division real fast. And then of course the Blue Jays are playing the Red Sox right now, so they could make a couple games if they don't lose. In the West, Houston and Oakland, that's that whole thing every year. I'm sure the next time the Astros play the A's, they'll sweep them. That's just how it works. The A's don't really beat the Astros. Don't know why. It just doesn't happen. The Mets in the NL East are leading by 2.5 games. I think the Phillies are going to take over at some point. The Mets aren't as good as people think they are. They are 7 games over 500. That's true. But they have the same amount of wins. Let's find a team to compare them to. They have one more win than the Yankees, and the Yankees are 7.5 games back. So they're just lucky with their division, that their division isn't, it's the worst division in baseball it's just the worst division in baseball. But I do think the Phillies are going to take first from them soon, at some point, because the Phillies have been the hottest team in baseball in July. I believe they're 10-4 in July, which is pretty impressive. The Mets are 5-5 in their last 10. They have won 2 in a row in like pretty cool fashion, but I got Phillies coming out of that division by October. And then the Braves, they're trying, but I just don't think there's a point, and I don't think they're going to make it out. Same thing with the Nationals. They've been flunking lately. They could do it, but they've just been flunking a little bit lately. Then, in the NL Central, I do think the Brewers are going to run away with it. I think the Reds, their only chance to make the playoffs is if they want to push for the wild card, which is going to be hard because the Padres are going to... I think there's going to be 3 teams coming out of the West. for the playoffs. I think it's going to be the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Padres. I don't know who's going to be in first. Because the Dodgers could take it over by the end of this week. The Padres are close to one hot week, and they could be right back in like 1 or 2 games, rather than 5.5. And I think all three of those teams are gonna make the playoffs regardless. I just think it's a matter of who's winning the division. And that's about it for the standings. That's about it for everything going on today. And then today the games. Caprillian's pitching for the A's, so that's something to watch. Mike Minor's pitching for the Royals against Brett Anderson. Trevor Rogers versus Pablo Espino in DC. In New York, the Yankees have Domingo Germán on the mound against Aaron Nola. Last time Nola pitched against the Yankees, it was not very fun for us Yankee fans at all. The Red Sox have Garrett Richards going against Thomas Hatch, who seems to be making his season debut, or maybe even his major league debut. Nope, he pitched last year. He has not pitched this year, so this is going to be his season debut. So that's something to look out for. That game is at 7 o'clock. The Mets and the Reds. It's Robert Stock for the Mets going against Wade Miley. Wade Miley's actually having a good year. 7-4 with a 2.8 ERA. That's a pretty good year, and he had the no-hitter. So that's good for the Reds if you're a Reds fan. Baltimore's got John Means going on. He's got 2.28 ERA. John Means against Shane McClanahan. Fun matchup. Lefty against lefty. Something to watch. Then Dane Dunning for the Rangers against Tariq Skubal for the Tigers. Both have not been great. Both have similar ERAs. Dunning has a 4.22 ERA. Skubal has a 4.36 ERA. The Tigers have been hot recently. Hot. See if they can keep it up. And then Padres have Yu Darvish on the mound, coming back off the IL against Touki Toussaint, who is making his season debut. So that's another thing to keep your eye out on. That game in Atlanta. Then Cleveland has Tristan McKenzie going against Luis Garcia. Tristan McKenzie has not been as good as the Indians hoped this year. He's got a 5.47 ERA. See what he could do against that Astros lineup. Twins and White Sox. Bailey Ober for the Twins against Dallas Keuchel for the White Sox. I got the White Sox winning this one fairly easily. Not much to it. Cubs have Trevor Williams against Jonathan Oviedo. Oviedo is 0-5 with a 5.09 ERA this year. Not great, not at all. So I guess that's something to look out for. But Trevor Williams also has a 5.51 ERA. That game, like I said, not too important. Don't think either team's making the playoffs. Then the Mariners and the Rockies, Marco Gonzalez against German Marquez. German Marquez first start since the All-Star break. Should be fun to watch. He's always fun to watch. He had that 1/8 inning, that one almost no-hitter game, almost perfect game against the Pirates. Marco Gonzalez is 1-5 with almost just south of 6 ERA. But he's facing the Rockies at home, so that shouldn't help him too much because the Rockies are one of the best home teams in baseball. Pirates have Tyler Anderson against Taylor Widener. Doesn't really matter. And then Dodgers and Giants. Giants have Alex Wood going. Dodgers have not announced a starter yet. So those are the games for today. I think the biggest ones to watch, probably obviously Dodgers, Giants, always a big one. Boston, Toronto is pretty important for the Blue Jays at least. Padres, Braves maybe. Phillies, Yankees, definitely big for both of those teams. looking to compete for wild card or division spots. And yeah, that's about it going on in baseball today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, you can subscribe, comment, comment anything about baseball, anything that's going on today. I'll probably respond. And yeah, I hope everyone watches some baseball today because you should always watch baseball. Get your daily dose in. Um, and I will be back tomorrow with the results from these games. Thanks for watching. Peace.